What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer. And still, 2 times over after UFC 311, the first UFC pay-per-view of the year, as Islam Makhachev defeats Renato Moicano, who stepped in on just a day's notice. He gets a round 1 Darce choke, cements himself as number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. We're going to get into all that and more in this card. We got Merab Dvalishvili. He outlasts Umar Nurmagomedov and retains his title as a big underdog. Then we had an absolute war where Jiri Prochazka and Jamaal Hill just battered each other for 3 rounds until Jamaal Hill goes down. Jiri Prochazka gets a round 3 TKO. Yalton Almeida gets a round 1 TKO. He makes quick work of Sergey Spivak at the end of round 1, and then Reiner de Ritter, he takes down Kevin Holland early and moves to a rear naked choke. He gets a good victory as the former 1 double champ is looking like his former self in his second UFC outing. We're going to go over this whole card for you, but that's... Welcome back, another episode of Blood and Beer, baby. First episode of the year. I've been off for a minute, so what? We're going to be going over UFC 311. This was an absolutely amazing card. Started off a little pedestrian, but we're going to kick it off with the main event. We had Islam Makhachev. He took on Renato Moicano on just 36 hours notice after Arman Tsarukyan had to pull out due to a back injury. And Islam Makhachev, he goes out there, he makes quick work of Renato Moicano, gets a Darce choke, but not without some adversity. Moicano was working him on the feet a little bit. He was really connecting with his punches, and Islam tripped, but he had him flustered, and then Islam gets the takedown, and in the scramble where Moicano looked like he was going to get up, Makhachev locks in the Darce choke. So he's the number 1 pound for pound. This dude is just indestructible right now, and him and Belal are friends, but he wants that second title. He's going to move up to 170, and I think Belal's kind of made himself their friend. He's not from Dagestan. He's not from that camp. They're the same religion. They worship together, and they work out together. They're training partners. Khabib's cornered him, but I don't think Islam would have a problem taking on Belal Muhammad and taking the 170-pound strap. Because who else is there? Dana White said after the fight in the press conference that Islam is not going to be fighting Tsarukyan next for the title. Tsarukyan lost that right when he pulled out with a day's notice. He said the doctors went back there. We know what it was. He had the opportunity. He turned it down. So he's going to have to take another fight to get that title shot. I don't know who's next for Islam at 155. He could be the lightweight GOAT at this point. He might have surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov. If he can get to 6 title defenses, that would definitely seal it for him. But I mean, he's just beat everybody. The only guy in the top 5 I think he hasn't beaten is Justin Gaethje. I don't know if Max Holloway's up there, but he's beaten Arman Tsarukyan. He's beaten Charles Oliveira. He's beaten Dan Hooker, who's number 6. I mean, the dude's he's beat everybody now. He beat Moicano, who was 12, I think, or 10. It's just, the guy's unbeatable. The father's plan really worked for him. It didn't work out so well for Umar Nurmagomedov, who took on Merab Dvalishvili. And early in the fight, Umar was working him on the feet. In rounds 1 and 2, he outstruck Merab. He got the takedown. He was out wrestling him. But he started to gas at the end of the second round. And in round 3, he just looked like a different fighter, breathing heavy, moving different. He was throwing punches and dropping his hands. It looked like just not the same guy. He was still having some success, but not near as much. And that's when Merab really turned up the pace. He was spamming takedowns. His striking looked a lot better than it ever has. He was landing some really good overhand rights on Umar the whole fight. And round 3, he's just spamming takedowns. Umar's defending him, but by round 4, he's getting him. Round 5, he's really just showboating. He's playing to the crowd. He's getting takedowns. He's stuffing everything Umar's got for him. And Merab Dvalishvili, his pace is unbelievable. What he was able to do to Umar Nurmagomedov in this fight. Goodness, you'd think I'd know the name. But yeah, just unreal. And he's done it to everybody. Nobody's been able to solve the Merab puzzle. The only person that could stuff his takedowns was Jose Aldo, and Jose still lost the decision to him. So I don't think there's anybody that can beat Merab Dvalishvili. And other than Islam Makhachev, you really got to think, where does he stack in the pound-for-pound ranking? Because pound-for-pound, the definition for that is at any weight class. So if you made him a heavyweight, if you made him any other weight class, who would defeat him? And I think the only kind of fighter that's beaten Merab Dvalishvili at this point in his career is a knockout artist that is one punch like a Derek Lewis or like an Alex Pereira, And he's not going to run into that at 135. These guys got to set it up, and he doesn't let them get that space to set up these strikes. We saw it with O'Malley. We saw it with Petr Yan. We saw it with Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, after the fight, Umar did say his hand was broken, and his hand was broken. The finger, this finger right next to the thumb, your pointer finger, just absolutely mangled. And that's really where you're connecting with a lot of your punches. So I could see how that kind of hinders you, but I don't like hearing the excuse in the octagon. I want to hear it, a couple days later or something. Let Merab have his flowers, because he was unstoppable tonight. He was getting pieced up early, but he fought through the adversity. And I don't know what's next for him. He's beat O'Malley. I mean, that's the money fight. He's beat Petr Yan. Davison Figueiredo's coming off a loss. Corey Sandhagen coming off a loss, I believe. Or every time he gets in that title eliminator fight, he just falls short. He doesn't have that signature win to get him there yet. So I don't know who's next for him. I mean, you give him O'Malley because it's the money fight. A couple years when Umar gets a little stronger, he might be able to take him on then after he's coming down. Merab, coming down on the athletic turn. But I think he's going to hold this title for quite a few years. He's just got favorable matchups ahead of him. A striker's not going to beat him unless they can just catch him clean. So, O'Malley, he has the best shot, but it's a puncher's chance, and you don't like that against a guy that does not gas like Merab. All right, and we're moving on from the title fights to Jiri Prochazka versus Jamaal Hill. And this fight was the best fight of the year so far, and it did not win fight of the night. Absolutely insane. That went to Merab versus Umar, which was an amazing fight. Super technical, super high level. Just didn't hold flowers to this. These guys battered each other for 3 rounds. Jiri really worked him early in round 1. He knocks down Jamaal. Jamaal was having trouble with his movement, and Jiri was fighting with his hands up a little bit, not very much, but more than he usually does, and he was slipping punches just phenomenally. But Jamaal was catching him, and Jiri was getting rocked, but he wasn't going down. Jiri drops Jamaal. Jamaal recovers right away, and, round ends, clearly goes to Jiri. Round 2, they go back to just cracking each other. They're both getting wobbled. It looks like he's landing the better punches. It could have gone either way, but I gave that round to Jamaal. Beat just absolute violence. And then round 3, they're going back at it, and Jiri's really got his number. He's throwing front kicks up the middle. He's throwing 2 to Jamaal's 1, so he's just really wrecking the body. And then he catches Jamaal with a left hook after countering a missed left hand from Jamaal, or a right hook when Jamaal throws a left hand. And he counters him, drops him, gets on top, finishes the fight. I think he's the best light heavyweight not named Alex Pereira, and I don't think his style works against Alex because he gets caught, and you can't get caught against that guy. But he beats everybody. Nobody ever thinks he's going to beat these top-ranked fighters, but he always does. And Jamaal looked amazing out there, but Jiri he's got that dog in him. He fights. He draws you into a fight, and when it's a fight, he's the best fighter that's not Alex Pereira, because this dude he's got the instincts to throw in the pocket, move out of the way, throw right back like he's on a rubber band. And he's got power. He's got that it factor. He'd be the champ if it wasn't for Alex Pereira. And he calls out Alex for a 3rd fight. I mean, that's the next move for him after Ankalaev, because you give him Roundtree. That'd be a fun fight. Roundtree would be a tough matchup for him because he hits like a truck. But again, Roundtree gets caught and Jiri hits like a truck. I don't know what's next for him. It's a clogged division right now with Pereira and Ankalaev at the top, but that fight has been announced for UFC 313, so we're going to get it cleared up a little bit and see what's next for Pereira, but he could be moving up and vacating, could be Jiri's division to hold until his chin goes. And then Yailton Almeida, as I said earlier, he got a TKO over Sergey Spivak. Spivak had a takedown early, but Almeida gets out of it, and then he gets takedown of his own, ends it with a TKO. We're going to move on, though. I wasn't real interested in that fight. He did get a performance bonus, but it wasn't anything super special. But Reiner de Ritter, former 1 double champ, he gets a finish over Kevin Holland early in round 1. He gets a takedown pretty quickly and easily. gets the top position. He's raining down ground and pound, and then he gets in a rear naked choke, and Kevin Holland's forced to tap out. He looks like how he did over in one when he was just waxing dudes before he ran into Anatoly Malovkin. I believe that's, yeah, I think that's how you say his name. Their former double champ that Rug just beat. But yeah, RDR, I say you give him top 10, maybe top 5 guy. I think the best guy for him right now, a guy that's been away for a while, a wrestler. He's beat a BJJ guy in Gerald Mearshart. He's beat a striker in Kevin Holland. Give him Marvin Vettori. I heard people on MMA Fighting say that's not the move. I think that's the move for him. That's the next test. I think Vittori's probably number 9, number 11, somewhere around there. And then you can move him up. And, he's got a story behind him. If he can be a double champ in one and somehow, I don't think he's going to win the title at 185 unless he gets some favorable matchups because he's not going to beat Hamzat. But, Hamzat, who knows what's going to happen with him. De Ritter's not very old, so he's got a future, and he's figuring out this UFC thing. As for Kevin Holland, he's been dropping a lot of fights lately. I think 4 or 5. 185 is not the weight class for him because these 185 grapplers, they just wreck him. Now, anybody that strikes with him at 185 gets fucked up because he has a lot more power on the feet. But everybody knows the game plan against Holland now. You take him down. If you're a 185-pounder, you just get on top, and then you find a submission or you get the ground and pound. And that's what everybody's done. Roman Dolidze took him down, hurt him, had to end the fight. Hamzat took him down, hurt him, submitted him. Hamzat, he's a freaking beast, but still, it's just there's a game plan there. Whereas 170, he can defend the takedowns, and he still has that striking. He's just not quite as powerful. He doesn't want to cut the weight. I'm a huge Kevin Holland fan. I want to see him win. I want to see him do catch weights like 180, just fun fights. Not against these wrestlers. Quit matching him up against wrestlers. Let him fight people that are going to fight him. Make it interesting like it was in 2020 when he had his run. All right, and then we'll talk a little bit about the prelims as well. So, underdogs were barking on the prelims. A lot of O's had to go as well. So, Clayton Carpenter, Peyton Talbot, Rinya Nakamura, they all lost their undefeated records. Peyton Talbot got dominated by Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos just wrestled him for 15 minutes and gets the win. Pretty convincingly. He was a plus 850 dog, and Talbot was minus 1300 coming back. And then Muyin Gafarov, he defeats Rinya Nakamura by unanimous decision. He outstrikes Nakamura. Drops him a couple times. He cashes as a plus 500 dog. This Japanese fighter that was a big striker. This happens a lot with them. I feel like they come over here, they're big favorites, and they're not well rounded, or they're not ready for that level of talent yet. They've fought a lot weaker competition and they get waxed. And then Azamat Bakarov, he made his UFC debut against Zachary Reese, and he gets a TKO, or actually it was a KO from. He's in Zachary Reese's guard with ground and pound. He's wrecking him. It was pretty nasty. He put him out cold, and he was out for a minute, it looked like. And then other things that happened on the prelims, Grant Dawson dominated Diego Ferreira for all 3 rounds. And then Aileen Perez, she gets a unanimous decision over, I think it was Carol Rosa. I don't know. Not a ton of other interesting things went on there. But the new Ultimate Fighter season was announced. They're changing it up. It's going to be DC versus Chael Sonnen as the coaches. Not using fighters, not holding up divisions. 2 guys that are personalities that'll make it interesting. It should be a lot more fun, I think. And then week off from UFC, we come back to Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov. And then following that, we got Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis rematch for the middleweight title. Zhang Wei Li versus Tatiana Suarez for the flyweight title. Yeah, for the strawweight title. And other than that, the card is absolute trash. We'll get into that when the time comes. But 311, it was absolutely amazing. And like I said earlier, they announced 313's main event. They also announced that Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker is going to be on that card. And that's going to be a 5-round fight. So thank you to the UFC for that. And that's all I got for you, baby. I'm back. Thanks for tuning in.